What's going on, y'all? I want to give you my review of the PMC 228s and the 226s. I had the 228s in my studio for about a week, and then the 226s in here for a week. And I got to, of course, listen to them against the monitors that I have. So my main monitors that I use are the PreSonus Scepter S6s and the Focal CMS 65s. So the 228s I used side by side with my Scepter S6s, and the 226s I used side by side with my Focal CMS 65s. The PMC are very high-end monitors made in Britain, and on the back you can see that there's a digital in, so you can actually go digital into these monitors if you wanted. I really like the menu on the back and how you can adjust your the frequency slope, the cutoff, on all the typical features that you have in a monitor. But I like how it's presented in this menu here. I like that you can adjust the gain just by using the up and down, because with a lot of monitors you're fooling with a clockwise dial, and it's just hard to really get the monitors calibrated perfectly using that dial. But with these I can set them both to the same volume, and that's what I'm going to get. Really cool thing about the PMC speakers is that each speaker has perfectly matched components, which I found to be really important in my listening to them, and I'll get into how they sound in a second. But every monitor has perfectly matching components, which I find really helps with the sound. I noticed with my PreSonus S6s, I can turn the volume to as close as I feel matched with the gain on them, and they still won't be perfect. Where these are perfect, no matter what volume I put them at or set them at. And even in replacing a driver or part from one monitor, they'll replace one in the other monitor just to make sure that everything has a perfect match and is paired up. So I think that's pretty cool and pretty important thing to know about these monitors. So let's get into the most important thing. How do they sound? So when I first put them up, and I had the 228s against my PreSonus S6s, for a few seconds I was like, hey, my PreSonus are hanging in there with these, and that was something more. I think we're listening to more of a mid-range song and nothing really just full frequency spectrum. When we, listening to more and more songs, I was really noticing how the PMCs just blew my S6s away. Let's start with the low end. The low end on the PMCs are really tight, and you don't even really need a sub with these. There was so much. One thing I really noticed after just some critical listening, the frequencies that the PMCs just put out, just the clarity was just really astonishing. But back to the low end, I use a M Audio SBX10 subwoofer, and just playing some test tones through the PMCs and through my sub. The PMCs put out a lower frequency than my sub. We were actually getting sound at, I think it's about 8 hertz that we were getting. Nothing really audible, but it was still reproducing that frequency. Whereas my sub didn't put out anything below 30, I think, or 25. So it's pretty crazy to think that these monitors put out more of a low end. You're reproducing more at the low end than a subwoofer does. The biggest difference is, to me, was the mid range with the S6s. My mid range sounded a little muddy and smeared, where the mid range on the PMCs were just crystal clear, and it just really made it sound like I wasn't even listening to music anymore, but just listening to a performance happening in front of me. Just the separation that I could hear and the detail was just amazing. The high end, there's a lot more high end frequency reach on the PMCs, which makes them sound brighter, and I really like that sound. Comparing it to the Focals, I got the Focals to sound closer to the PMCs, and I've never done this before, but I actually in an attempt to get that high end that I'm getting with the PMCs on the focals, I turned the high frequency shelf up on the focals on the back. I think it's a 4.5K boost, and that got it a little closer. But still, when you really pay attention to the mid range on the PMCs, they're just it's crystal clear, and just the clarity and definition that you're getting in the mid range is just astonishing. Another thing I really noticed is the center image. Like the center image is just with the PMCs, it's just locked in front of you, and I spend a lot of time adjusting my monitors and measuring and moving, trying to get that perfect center image with my focals and the PreSonuses. And I get as close as I can, but the PMCs, I didn't measure, I didn't really move them around too much. I just threw them up on the stands and hit play, and the center image was just locked there. It was really nice. Even after moving them around a little bit and tweaking them, I mean, the center image just stayed right there in the center. And even switching between the focals and the PreSonus, I can feel the center image shift a little bit. Well, with the PMCs, they were just right there in the middle where you'd want them to be. The PMCs also, you can use them vertical or horizontal. A little interesting that the tweeter is kind of off to one side, but they sound fine both ways. I've used them both ways. I think I prefer them horizontal just because the tweeter is closer to my ear in that orientation. Let's get into the pricing. So like I said, these are really high-end monitors. The 228s are $8,000 for the pair. The 226s are $5,000 for the pair, and there's 225s that I didn't get to try, but those are $4,000 for the pair. Looking at those three, I think the best for the value is the 226s. I'm certainly going to save and get me a pair because after listening to these, it's going to be hard to go back to what I've been doing. If you have a chance, really check these out and take a listen to them because just what you can hear with them and just the detail is incredible. It's funny because I told D Lyles that at the time I was like, man, these PreSonuses are the best monitors I've heard. And when I heard the PMCs and I told him, man, these PMCs are the best monitors I've ever heard, and he said, you said that about the PreSonuses. And I was like, well, yeah, but I haven't heard the PMCs yet. So it's what's interesting to me is that with some gear, I feel that there's a price threshold that when you go above that price, it's really just a personal preference at that point. But with these, I can really hear. I mean, they are expensive monitors, but I can really hear the difference in really high end and expensive monitoring with these. Whereas some gear, I feel that they are priced really high, but I can use something maybe half the price and you still get good results. But so it was really interesting to get a pair of really high end monitors in here and listen to them against what I normally use. But all right, y'all, I want to give you my quick thoughts and a review on the PMC monitors. These are right now they're exclusively. I don't want to say exclusively, but the only dealer that's carrying them is Vintage King. So, check them out on PMC's website. You can find out more about PMC on Vintage King. All right, I'll catch y'all next time.